In a grand hall of the Galactic Council, alien representatives from various planets gathered for a crucial meeting. The atmosphere was filled with tension and anticipation. The council members, a mix of colorful beings and strange creatures, exchanged whispers about recent events involving humans. They believed they had a firm understanding of humanity, peaceful, weak, and fearful of conflict. Little did they know how wrong they were. The council leader, a tall, blue-skinned alien named Zoran, stood at the front of the room. He raised a hand to silence the murmurs. "Fellow members of the council, we are here to discuss the recent skirmish near the human territory. Reports indicate that they attempted to defend their borders, but they failed miserably. This proves what we have known all along: humans fear war." A green-skinned alien named Krell, known for his sharp tongue, leaned forward in his chair. "Yes, they prefer to negotiate and plead for peace. This weakness is their downfall. We must show them that they cannot defy the Galactic Council." The other members nodded, their eyes sparkling with enthusiasm at the idea of asserting their dominance. As Zoran continued to speak, Sarah, the human diplomat, listened intently from her seat. She felt a mix of anger and determination. The council members had no idea about the true nature of humans and their hidden strengths. They thought humans were only good at making friends, but Sarah knew they could be fierce warriors when needed. "Let us send a message to Earth," Zoran suggested. "We will mobilize our fleet and demonstrate our power. They must understand that they are not a threat to us. They will learn to respect our authority." The council erupted in applause, excited by the prospect of teaching humans a lesson. Sarah felt her heart race as she stood up to address the council. "Excuse me, honorable members," she said, her voice steady. "I must speak. Humans are not as weak as you believe. We have faced many challenges, and we have always risen to meet them. Underestimating us will be your greatest mistake." Her words hung in the air, but the council members exchanged skeptical glances. Zoran waved her off dismissively. "Your passion is commendable, Sarah, but it will not change our decision. The council has spoken. We will proceed with our plans." Sarah sat back down, feeling frustrated. How could she make them see the truth? The council continued discussing their strategy, excitedly planning the details of their show of force. They imagined fleets of ships swooping down on Earth, displaying their might. As the meeting went on, Sarah realized she needed to act quickly. She couldn't let the council carry out their dangerous plan without a fight. After the meeting, Sarah returned to her quarters, her mind racing with ideas. She knew she had to warn her people. Humans had advanced technology and a history of resilience, but many still saw peace as the only option. Sarah believed it was time to show the Galactic Council what humans could really do. She contacted the leaders of Earth's military. "We need to prepare for a potential attack from the Galactic Council. They underestimate us, and that is dangerous. We have to unite and show them that we are not afraid," she urged, her voice filled with urgency. The military leaders listened carefully, realizing that Sarah's words carried weight. They began to understand the importance of being prepared. "We cannot let them think we are weak," one leader agreed. "Let's gather our resources and devise a plan to protect our home." As preparations began, Sarah felt a surge of hope. Humans might be seen as fearful, but deep down, they had a fierce spirit. The Galactic Council would soon learn that humans were not to be underestimated. Meanwhile, back in the council hall, Zoran and his fellow members laughed and celebrated their perceived victory. They had no idea of the storm that was brewing on Earth. As they plotted their course toward humanity, they were blissfully unaware that the very beings they mocked were ready to rise and fight back. And so the stage was set. The Galactic Council believed they could easily crush humans, but little did they know that their greatest fear would soon become their worst nightmare. After the council meeting, Sarah felt a heavy weight on her shoulders. She knew that the Galactic Council planned to show their power to Earth, and she was determined to stop them. As a human diplomat, her mission was to protect her planet, and she knew she had to act quickly. Back on Earth, Sarah arrived at the headquarters of the United Earth Defense Force. The building was bustling with activity. Military personnel moved swiftly, preparing for any potential threats. Sarah took a deep breath and stepped into the main conference room, where top military leaders were gathered. "Sarah!" exclaimed General Mark, a tall man with a stern face. "You made it just in time. We were just discussing the reports from the Galactic Council." He motioned for her to join them at the table. Sarah took her seat, looking around at the faces of the leaders. Thank you for having me, General. I need to warn you about what the Council is planning. They think humans are weak and want to show us their strength by sending a fleet to our borders. The room fell silent. The leaders exchanged worried glances. What do you mean? Asked Colonel Ramirez, a young officer with bright eyes. They can't really think we won't fight back, can they? Unfortunately, they do, Sarah replied, her voice firm. The Council believes we are afraid of war. They are underestimating us, and that could lead to disaster. We need to prepare ourselves for the worst. General Mark leaned forward. What do you suggest we do, Sarah? We have to show them we are ready to defend ourselves. We need to unite our forces and prepare our ships, Sarah said passionately. Humans have faced many challenges, and we always find a way to fight back. We must show the Council that we are not afraid to protect our home. The leaders nodded, realizing the truth in her words. They understood that the Council's plans could lead to serious consequences. We have to gather our best military minds, General Mark said, and come up with a solid plan. Over the next few days, Sarah worked tirelessly with the military leaders. They held meetings, discussing strategies and tactics. They reviewed Earth's military assets, preparing to deploy ships and weapons. Sarah shared her knowledge about the Galactic Council, helping the leaders understand their strengths and weaknesses. As the preparations continued, Sarah felt a sense of urgency. She knew that time was running out. The Council would not wait long before launching their fleet, and she needed to ensure that Earth was ready to defend itself. One evening, as Sarah reviewed the latest intelligence reports, she received an urgent message. A high-ranking officer rushed into the room. Sarah! We've intercepted communications from the Galactic Council. They are mobilizing their fleet. They plan to launch an attack in just a few days. Panic surged through the room. Sarah's heart raced as she processed the news. We must move quickly. We need to alert all military bases and prepare our ships for battle, she instructed, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. The military leaders sprang into action, organizing their forces and preparing for the worst. As Sarah watched them work, she felt a mix of fear and determination. She knew that the fate of Earth rested on their shoulders, and they could not afford to fail. The next morning, Sarah stood on the command deck of Earth's flagship, the Eagle's Fury. The massive ship was a symbol of human strength and resilience. She looked out at the fleet of ships gathering around her, ready to defend their home. Today we show the Galactic Council that we are not afraid, she declared to the crew. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every human on this planet. We will not back down! The crew erupted in cheers, their spirits high. Sarah felt a surge of pride as she realized that humans were ready to stand together. They were no longer seen as weak. They were warriors, ready to defend their home at all costs. As the fleet prepared to set sail, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was coming. The Galactic Council believed they could intimidate humanity, but they were about to learn a valuable lesson. The warning had been given, and now it was time for action. With their ships lined up and engines roaring, the humans were ready to face whatever challenge lay ahead. The Council had underestimated them, and now they would see just how strong humanity could be. The stage was set for a battle that would change the galaxy forever. As the fleet of Earth's ships prepared to face the Galactic Council, Sarah stood on the command deck of the Eagle's Fury. She gazed out at the vast expanse of space, her heart pounding with anticipation. They were ready to defend their home, but she knew the Council would not go down without a fight. Little did they know, humans had a hidden strength they had yet to uncover. The atmosphere on the ship was tense, but charged with determination. Crew members moved about, checking weapons and systems. General Mark joined Sarah at the command console, his face serious. We've received word that the Galactic Council fleet is approaching. We have to be ready. Are our ships fully prepared? Sarah asked, glancing at the tactical screen, which displayed the incoming enemy vessels. Yes, Mark replied, his eyes narrowing. But we need to remember that our real strength lies not just in our technology, but in our unity and spirit. We must fight together. As the minutes passed, the crew worked tirelessly, and Sarah felt a growing sense of purpose. She recalled the Council's dismissive laughter and their belief that humans feared war. It made her more determined to show them how wrong they were. Suddenly, an alert sounded. The screen lit up with the image of the Galactic Council's massive ships, dark against the stars. They're here, Mark announced, gripping the console. Prepare for battle! Open a channel to the fleet, Sarah ordered. She knew this was her moment to inspire her crew and fellow soldiers. This is Sarah, your ambassador. We have trained for this day. Remember, we fight for our homes, our families, and our future. Let's show them what we're made of. Cheers erupted throughout the ship and across the fleet as the message echoed in the hearts of the crew. They were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their very identity as humans. As the enemy ships closed in, Sarah watched closely, noting their formations. The Galactic Council had sent their best fighters, but she felt a surge of confidence. Humans had a unique advantage. They were resourceful and adaptable. "Mark, I have an idea," Sarah said, her mind racing. "What if we used our smaller ships to create distractions? We can draw their fire away from the larger ships and then hit them with everything we have." Mark raised an eyebrow. "It's risky, but it might just work. We can split our fleet into two groups. The smaller ships can engage the enemy and create confusion while we hit from the side." "Exactly," Sarah said, her heart racing with excitement. "Let's do it!" The crew quickly executed the plan. Small fighter ships broke away from the formation and darted toward the enemy fleet, weaving in and out of the larger vessels. The Galactic Council was caught off guard by this unexpected maneuver. Their ships began firing, but the smaller ships were nimble and hard to hit. "Now's our chance!" Sarah shouted. "Engage the enemy!" The Eagle's Fury and the other larger ships moved into position, firing their weapons with precision. Energy blasts lit up the darkness of space as the battle raged on. Sarah felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. As the fighting continued, she watched the crew work together. They communicated seamlessly, adapting their tactics in real time. The hidden strength of humanity was becoming clear, their ability to think on their feet and work as a cohesive unit. Suddenly, a warning alarm blared. "One of the smaller ships is taking heavy damage," Mark exclaimed, his eyes wide. "We have to help them. Divert power to shields and fire at the enemy targeting them," Sarah commanded. She felt a deep sense of responsibility for every life on board. The crew responded instantly, working with a level of teamwork that was inspiring to witness. Just as the enemy was about to land a critical blow, the Eagle's Fury unleashed a powerful blast, hitting the enemy ship directly. The enemy vessel staggered, and the smaller ship was able to retreat, saved from destruction. "Nice work!" Sarah shouted, feeling the adrenaline surge through her veins. They had shown the Council that humans were not just fighters, they were brave and resourceful. The battle continued, but the tide was turning. The Galactic Council had underestimated humans, believing they were weak and afraid. But as the ships fought valiantly, they began to realize that humanity's greatest strength lay not just in their technology or numbers, but in their spirit and resilience. As the battle raged on, Sarah knew that this was just the beginning. The Council would soon learn the truth about humans. They were not to be trifled with. With each passing moment, Sarah felt more confident that they would emerge victorious. The Council's wrong belief would soon become their greatest regret. The battle raged across the stars, a dazzling display of bright flashes and roaring engines. The Eagle's Fury soared through space, dodging enemy fire as Sarah and her crew pushed their limits. They had shown the Galactic Council that humanity would not back down, but the fight was far from over. Sarah stood at the command console, her heart racing. "Keep up the pressure!" she shouted. "We're pushing them back, but we need to stay focused." The crew worked tirelessly, their eyes glued to the tactical displays. Mark, standing beside her, monitored the battle with intense concentration. The enemy fleet was larger, but Sarah's team had been quick and clever. Their strategy had paid off, but the Galactic Council was regrouping. Sarah could see their ships forming a tighter formation, preparing to launch a more coordinated attack. "They're planning something," Mark warned, pointing at the display. "We need to break their formation before they do." Sarah nodded. "Let's deploy our fighters again. We need to create more distractions and force them to scatter." She could feel the energy in the room. The crew was energized, their spirits high, knowing they were fighting for their homes. As the small fighter ships broke away once more, they zipped toward the enemy fleet, weaving in and out of fire. The Galactic Council ships began to retaliate, firing in all directions. Bright beams of energy shot through space, illuminating the darkness. "Now!" Sarah yelled. "Hit them from the sides!" The Eagle's Fury and other larger ships moved into position, unleashing a barrage of firepower. Explosions erupted in the vacuum of space, and Sarah felt a thrill of exhilaration as their plan unfolded. But just as victory seemed within reach, a warning siren blared through the ship. Enemy reinforcements detected, an officer shouted, his voice laced with panic. A second fleet is approaching from behind. Where did they come from? Mark exclaimed, his face turning pale. We didn't have intel on this. They must have hidden their forces, Sarah replied, her mind racing. We need to act quickly or we'll be surrounded. The situation was dire. The enemy ships began to close in, and the crew of the Eagle's Fury felt the tension rise. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, Sarah ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. They had fought hard, and she refused to let fear take over. As the crew activated the ship's defenses, Sarah took a deep breath, focusing on her training. She had been preparing for this moment for years, and she wouldn't let her people down now. Mark, can we target their flagship? She asked, hoping to take out their command center. Give me a moment, Mark replied, fingers flying over the console. I'm locking on! If we can destroy their flagship, we can throw their entire fleet into chaos. Do it! Sarah shouted, determination burning in her eyes. With a steady hand, Mark pressed the button, and a beam of energy shot from the Eagle's Fury. It streaked across space and hit the enemy flagship with a thunderous explosion. The ship rocked violently, lights flickering as the crew inside struggled to maintain control. Direct hit! Someone cheered, but Sarah kept her focus. Don't celebrate yet. We're not out of danger. The enemy fleet retaliated, firing back with ferocity. The Eagle's Fury shuddered as blasts hit their shields. Sarah felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She had to keep her crew safe and turn the tide of the battle. Return fire! Target their weapon systems, Sarah commanded. The crew worked as one, their teamwork evident as they executed her orders. Explosions lit up the darkness, and the Galactic Council began to falter. As the battle continued, Sarah spotted a flicker of movement on her screen. A small enemy ship was trying to flank them. Mark, can you divert power to our starboard side? We need to deal with that ship. Yes, diverting power now, Mark responded, his voice steady. The Eagle's Fury turned, bringing its side cannons to bear. With a loud boom, they fired, striking the small ship and sending it spiraling into space. The tide of battle began to shift. The crew of the Eagle's Fury could feel it. They were fighting not just for their lives, but for the future of humanity. With every blast fired, with every ship taken down, they sent a clear message to the Galactic Council. Humans were not afraid. But the Council still had numbers. More ships poured in, and the fight was far from over. Sarah knew they had to finish this. We need to regroup and push forward, she shouted. Together we can show them our true strength. The crew roared with determination, ready to fight until the end. As the Eagle's Fury advanced into the fray, Sarah felt a deep sense of pride. They were united, stronger together, and she knew that no matter what happened next, they would face it head-on. In the heat of battle, Sarah realized that humanity's hidden strength was not just in their technology or tactics, but in their unyielding spirit. They would fight, they would stand together, and they would not let anyone take their home. The big fight had begun, and they were ready to show the Galactic Council what humanity was truly capable of. The battle raged on, but the tides had turned in humanity's favor. The Galactic Council's ships, once so confident, now showed signs of weakness. Sarah and the crew of the Eagle's Fury had fought bravely, and the enemy was beginning to realize that they had underestimated humanity's resolve. As Sarah stood at the command console, she felt a mix of exhaustion and determination. The sounds of explosions and alarms filled the air, but the energy in the ship was electric. They had pushed back the Council's forces, and victory was within reach. Mark, what's the status on the enemy fleet? Sarah asked, keeping her eyes glued to the tactical display. Mark checked the readings, his brow furrowed in concentration. They're losing their formation. We've taken out their flagship, and their morale is dropping. We can press our advantage. Let's hit them with everything we have, Sarah commanded, her voice steady. She knew this was their moment to seize the day and prove that humanity was not to be trifled with. As the crew rallied to prepare for the final push, Sarah felt a sense of pride in her team. They had come together in a way she had never seen before. Humans were adaptable, creative, and strong. It was their spirit that had made all the difference. Fire at will! She shouted. The Eagle's Fury unleashed a powerful barrage of energy beams toward the retreating enemy ships. Explosions erupted as more of the Council's vessels were taken out, creating chaos among their ranks. Suddenly, a comm officer spoke up. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. On screen, Sarah replied, her heart racing. The face of a high-ranking council member appeared, looking grim and defeated. "This is Counselor Thera," she said, her voice shaking. "We surrender. We did not expect such fierce resistance from the humans." Sarah could hardly believe her ears. The council had admitted defeat. "You should have listened to our warnings," she replied, her voice firm but calm. "We are not afraid of war. We will fight to protect our home." Counselor Thera nodded, clearly shaken. "We will withdraw our forces and leave Earth in peace. We only ask for terms of surrender to ensure no further conflict arises." "Agreed," Sarah said, her heart swelling with relief and triumph. "We will negotiate, but know this. If you ever threaten Earth again, we will not hesitate to defend ourselves." The transmission ended, and the room erupted into cheers. The crew of the Eagle's Fury celebrated their hard-won victory, hugging each other and high-fiving as they realized the battle was over. They had fought against the odds and emerged victorious. But amidst the celebrations, Sarah felt a sense of responsibility weighing on her. This victory was not just about defeating an enemy, it was about forging a new beginning for humanity. They had proven their strength, but now they had to build a future. As the Eagle's Fury returned to Earth, Sarah and her crew began to discuss what came next. "We need to establish communication with the Council," Mark suggested. "This victory has given us a chance to change how we interact with other species." "Yes," Sarah agreed. "We need to be prepared for future encounters. We can't let this victory make us complacent." They spent hours discussing strategies, focusing on how to ensure peace and avoid future conflicts. Sarah was determined to create a world where humans could stand strong, but also seek understanding and cooperation with others. When they finally reached Earth, the atmosphere was electric. People gathered to welcome back the heroes, their faces filled with hope and joy. Sarah stood on the deck of the Eagle's Fury, looking out at the crowd, her heart swelling with pride. "Today we celebrate our victory," she announced to the gathered crowd. "But we also recognize that this is a new beginning. We have shown the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated. Our strength lies in our spirit, our unity, and our willingness to fight for what we believe in." The crowd erupted into cheers, their voices ringing out in the clear sky. Sarah knew that this was just the start. The galaxy was vast, and they had much to learn about it and its inhabitants. But they would face those challenges together, ready to forge alliances and protect their home. As she looked out over the sea of faces, Sarah felt a renewed sense of hope. They had fought hard, and now it was time to embrace the future. The Galactic Council had learned their lesson, humans were strong, and they would not back down. With this victory, a new chapter in humanity's story began. They would no longer be seen as weak or fearful, instead they would be recognized as a formidable force in the galaxy. And as they stepped into this new beginning, Sarah knew that together they could accomplish anything. The universe awaited, and humanity was ready to meet it head-on.